It's the season of giving and doing good, right? Then let me be completely honest. I've tried pretty much every Better Health meal kit you can think of, and none have ever really worked for me. That is until I partnered with Factor. Don't bust your belt this bustling holiday season. Eat well for breakfast, lunch, and dinner with chef-prepared, ready-to-eat meals delivered straight to your door with Factor. They're dietitian-approved, meaning the diet doesn't have to take a break while Santa and those usually irresistible Christmas cookies roll into town. Factor is America's #1 ready-to-eat meal delivery service. Meal options include Calorie Smart, Vegan and Veggie, and Protein Plus. So give Factor a try today and enjoy eating well without the hassle. Ready in 2 minutes, no prep, no mess. The website is factormeals.com/TOC50, Talk of Champions 50, TOC50. And make sure to use code TOC50 to get 50% off your first order. That's code TOC50 at factormeals.com/TOC50 to get 50% off. Keep Christmas and dinner time merry with Factor, a proud sponsor of the Talk of Champions podcast network.
A new year has arrived. What's your resolution for 2024? How about making sure the roof over your head is well taken care of? Riverland Roofing is here for all your roofing needs. Whether it's an inspection, a new roof, or a maintenance program, Riverland Roofing has you covered, home or business, to give you peace of mind in the new year. As a GAF Master Elite contractor, they can offer warranties that last a lifetime. Riverland Roofing is licensed and insured to service Mississippi and its surrounding states. So give Riverland Roofing a call today and make sure you and yours are protected all year round. Call Riverland Roofing at 662-644-4297. That's 662-644-4297. Visit them online at riverlandroofing.com, riverlandroofing.com. It's Riverland Roofing for all of your roofing needs, a proud sponsor of the Talk of Champions podcast network. Welcome in to a January 2nd, 2024 edition of the Flagship here on the Talk of Champions podcast network. I'm Ben Garrett at Spirit Ben on Twitter. He's David Eckert. He covers Ole Miss for the Jaxson Clarion Ledger. Happy New Year, David. How are you, man?
I'm doing great, man. I am rested, recovered, and ready to podcast. How are you?
I'm living my best life, man. I'm in the corner of my home office here, ringing in the new year like a party animal, like we are these days because we're old men. So, you know, we really probably threw it. You probably threw it down just like I did. But, yeah, man, I mean, it's a new year for Ole Miss Athletics, and Ole Miss Athletics is having a moment. David covers, like I said, Ole Miss for the Jaxson Clarion Ledger, been doing it for a while now. You were at the Peach Bowl. What's your biggest maybe takeaway thematically from the Peach Bowl for Ole Miss and what it means for them and all that kind of stuff?
Thematically, that's a big word for you. I'm proud of you.
Say thank you. I've been at this a long time, you know. I'm a pro's pro.
It felt very launching pad-ish, right? Because, you know, Ole Miss, I think a lot of programs in the position that Ole Miss is in right now probably would not be as open about what they're trying to do next season. Like, Ole Miss has said, hey, we would like to make the college football playoff in 2024. This has been a goal of ours, not just, you know, in the last couple of months, but like long term. So I think vibes matter right now, especially when you're trying to sell players on said vibes. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, it felt it was a launching pad. And, you know, your listeners might not know this. I covered Penn State for a long time. I'm a Penn State alum. And it felt to me, granted, obviously there were some opt-outs that factored into the game, but here is a program that is embracing modern college football, that is doing everything that they need to do to be successful in modern college football against, you know, a very proud and traditional historic program that has won a lot of games, but has not necessarily, you know, adapted to the times in the way that they need to. And the result was, you know, an emphatic Ole Miss win.
Of course, it didn't sound that way from James Franklin. You think it was just like a crooked referee and umpiring crew out there and all a bunch of other stuff, all the things that they were talking about afterwards. But quite frankly, Ole Miss dominated from the start of that game, played a good football game. And for me, it's less about the game itself and the opponent and all this kind of stuff than exactly what you're talking about. Two programs, both with similar aspirational viewpoints here in Ole
Mhm.
Miss and Penn State for 2024 with an expanded playoff, believing that they're going to be national title contenders, seemingly going in different directions. And that's, to me, if you're an Ole Miss fan, the most encouraging thing because outside of the obvious, the Alabamas who lost, of course, yesterday to Michigan, and we're going to get to the national championship here in a second. But outside of the obvious, like Michigan, Alabama, well, Michigan's dealing with the Jim Harbaugh and all the other stuff. But anyway, you get what I'm saying. Like the
Right.
traditional, they're going to be there every single year. Georgia, Alabama. Who are you most excited about in college football right now outside of Ole Miss? And that's kind of where I'm at. Like, if you're an Ole Miss fan and you're wondering how you go into 2024 as far as embracing a new normal, just own it, man. Because Ole Miss is without a doubt, I mean, riding one of the hottest heaters in the country right now. And when you have these opportunities, man, you just embrace the shit out of it, you know?
Yeah, for sure. And look, they're not. I think the thing to me that if I'm an Ole Miss fan is most exciting is they don't view this as all right, all the chips are in for 2024. They view this as all the chips are in for 2024, but we believe that could be a launching pad for more success. Because guess what? If you're great in 2024, if you win a playoff game, if you win two playoff games, you need less chips in 2025 to make the same thing happen. You know what I mean? So it's just it's an important moment and it's an exciting time to be following the program for sure.
Can we just say that David replaced my buddy Nick Suss? And I've been friends with all the Clarion Ledger guys. All right. But you replaced my buddy Nick Suss. And unfortunately, I kind of dismissed it at first, but I think our guys got like a curse following him. I really do. Because when he left LSU, covering LSU, when he was covering and attending Georgia, after both of those 2 years exactly to the day, both of those programs won a national championship. And now 2024 is the year to the year that he has left covering Ole Miss. So by that logic, David, Ole Miss is
Yeah,
winning the title next year because Nick Suss is not here. And you know what? I think like I don't know what the odds are for Ole Miss to win a title next year. Maybe they're plus 2,800. I don't know, something crazy. Whatever it is, minus 2,800, whatever it might be, lay the money, man. Because Nick Suss, the curse has not been lifted. It's playing out in real time. I'm just saying, you know, we got to give
Ben,
it to our guy.
you're skipping over his tenure covering the Southern Miss Golden Eagles, who won the whatever the bowl in Mobile is after he left. So that's an important one. That one counts.
I'm saying
But yeah, but yeah, you
the
know,
curse. The curse is real. So like we're gonna be covered in national championship next year. Like I've resigned myself to it. Like not resigned myself. That means I've accepted it. I'm like no longer should Ole Miss fans be like, wow, is this real? No, it's real. And like if for no other reason than the curse is real. You know,
I'm
the
just
Nick
trying
Suss curse.
I'm trying to imagine doing the week that I just did in Atlanta like 3 consecutive weeks in a row.
Awesome.
I don't think I would make it, Ben. So I might use the word resign for myself,
Yeah,
but
no. See me, I drop in and out these days. You know, as far as like what do I attend. What was the biggest? I mean, what do you remember most about your time spent at the Peach Bowl and kind of like because that's going to be for you, regardless of how tired you are today.
yeah,
That's going to be something you always remember. So for you, what was the most memorable thing about the Peach Bowl, and what did you learn most about Ole Miss that day or that week, I should say?
interesting. You know, I think I will remember and treasure my time with the Mercedes-Benz Stadium press box ice cream machine forever. You know, uh, it will live on in my memory. But no, I mean, look, it was a really fun week for me, just from a football perspective. It was great from a reporter's perspective to get to talk to coaches, assistant coaches,
Mhm.
which is highly illegal here. So uh, that was nice.
Like the
Uh,
moderator for the Peach Bowl did not understand when Pete Golding stepped up what was going on, but like Pete Gold, that was like, yeah, that was
yeah,
like seeing Bigfoot for us, you know?
yeah. And
Yeah.
I think actually something that you might find funny was we immediately once Pete. So the setup at the podium was they had breakouts in a different room,
Hmm.
and then they had people on the podium. And after 30 minutes or whatever, they swapped, right? So Pete Golding finishes at the podium, and immediately the entire Ole Miss media contingent gets up and follows him out into the room to talk to him at the table because, again, you know, we don't get that. And then the next morning, they made the executive decision to cancel the breakouts because they were concerned that nobody would be at the podium to ask Charlie Wise Jr. questions because we didn't need for around Jaxson Dart.
It's no knock on Charlie. It's no knock on those other guys. It's just like, you know, you take your scraps when they're thrown out on the floor. You know, you just gotta go for it. Yeah. Okay. So looking to next year and looking at like now that it's complete, it's Michigan, it's Washington. I think we're all kind of happy to just have a different national championship this year. But when you're looking at these teams that Ole Miss will be contending with next year, where do you kind of rank them? Because I think that's the biggest conversation going into 2024. I've never been a big believer in preseason rankings. I'm not going to be one now just because Ole Miss is going to be ranked pretty high. But I'm curious to where you think they end up or where they need to be going into next year to really be in this conversation, stay in this conversation. I think that like it's fair to rank, especially with Jaxson Dart coming back officially. He announced it on New Year's Day on his own. Finally, he got to do it, and he made the announcement. And now it's happened. We can say it. He's back. Are they officially a top 5 preseason team to you?
I would have them somewhere between like 5 and 7, just like based on vibes. Like we don't know what these rosters look like right now, but just right, like are they better than Alabama? I don't know. Are they better than Georgia? I don't know. You know, your Michigans, your Ohio States, your Texases, like there's, you know, a certain degree of blue blood respect that I think is owed. But yeah, I think the goal for them next season needs to be to host a playoff game. I think they are good enough because you don't have to you have to finish what, like 8th, top 8, right? Based on how that math works. I think that is totally attainable. I think it's very attainable with their schedule. I don't know. What do you think, Ben? Where do you kind of have them?
Man,
I don't know, really, is what I'm trying to say.
You got to put them number 5. I think you got to put them at worst number 5. For Ole Miss, I think what it really sets up for next year is not just the schedule. I mean, we always talk about theoretically how Ole Miss can get to this certain spot. That's how it's always been. All right, you know, well, you got this, and if you can get out to this and then get this and this and this. And now it's less theoretical than, all right, well, here's the road in front of them. They're going to be good. The fact that you start with, are they better than Alabama is the first question. It's a whole new conversation to be having. But I think Ole Miss has earned that. And I'm looking at next year's rosters, and all we can go by on January 2nd, 2024 is what we know today. And looking at the rosters and the returning guys and also the portal quality and additions they'll be making, I don't care who signed the number 1 high school prospect class.
Doesn't
don't
matter.
care. Don't care who signed.
Right,
don't care who signed number 8. Any of that as far as what it means for Ole Miss in 2024. Love the idea of Cam Franklin mixing in and Jeffrey Rush mixing in and Cam Beavers mixing in with these defensive linemen, Tyler Barron, Princely Uman-Mielen. But at the end of the day, just based off of what Ole Miss needs to be or where a program needs to be based solely on winning for 2024, Ole Miss has hit every benchmark, every one of them. I mean, portal, winning, beating quality opponent. Reese Davis said it before the game. You know, if they beat Penn State, they should be top 5 next year. Lewis Reddick said the same thing for ESPN. You know, this team is a national championship contender. Well, if it were Auburn, if it were LSU, if whoever, Eckert, who would they have? Where would they have Ole Miss going into next year with a third-year starting quarterback and a third-year starting star running back, on and on and on. Like the wide receivers, Trey Harris and Deion Smith by themselves is probably the best duo Ole Miss has ever had outside of, but DK couldn't stay healthy, but AJ and DK. And then add on top of it, Juice friggin' Wells. This is a national championship contending team.
Their second string trio of wide receivers would be good enough to be like a top 15. Like it's insane. But no, I agree with you. I guess, look, Ben, I have a hard time making conclusions until I have all the information. Okay. But they're up and around there for sure.
The car buying process can be a lot. I know, I've been there. You just want to get in and out with a new car and the best deal. Simple. Allen Samuels Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram of Oxford keeps it simple. They're going to take care of you, get you in and out with your new vehicle with a great deal. Their inventory right now is priced to sell, and what separates Allen Samuels Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram of Oxford from any and all competitors
as they aim to address each of your needs with the utmost respect, care, and attention to detail. Contact them today at 662-234-8000. That's 662-234-8000. Stop by and see them in person at 2201 East University Avenue in Oxford. That's Allen Samuels Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram of Oxford to find your next perfect car, truck, or Jeep. Allen Samuels, let's be friends.
Introducing the new and improved BNA Bank mobile app. From setting transaction alerts and tracking your spending habits to managing travel plans and turning off a lost or stolen debit card, you can take care of all of it in the new BNA mobile app. At BNA Bank, we know that life moves pretty fast, and we have the mobile technology to keep up with your life on the go. BNA Bank. Local, invested, modern banking.
The College Corner is headed to Oxford. Stop by their new location in the Oxford Commons off Sisk Avenue. They'll have 4,000 square feet of Rebel gear ready for your trip to the Grove. On your next trip to Oxford, stop by the College Corner or our other great locations in Ridgeland and Flowood. Hats, shirts, polos, pullovers, sweats, t-shirts. College Corner has it all. And as always, you can visit us online at collegecornerstore.com. That's collegecornerstore.com. The College Corner, where your game day apparel meets.
All in all, it feels like Ole Miss is having a moment. How would you kind of like categorize that for the Ole Miss fan to appreciate living that moment for now? What is this as far as historical significance? Could it be necessarily considering where all the programs are, even women's basketball? I mean, getting the first upset of a number 1 seed over Stanford since 2009, their first Sweet 16 in 16 years. This feels like we're at an inflection point for Ole Miss sports to take a step that could keep them in the country's top echelon and crust as far as competitiveness for quite a while, because structurally they're so sound right now. Do you think that's fair?
Totally, 100%. Yeah, and look, it's all, I hate to keep bringing it back to this point, but they owe just about all of it to, hey, we embraced this change in regards to name, image, and likeness. We are organized. We were quick to it. So guess what? Now that everybody has figured out, hey, hello, this, you should probably care about this thing. We have, Ole Miss has 2-3 years of success that they can point to and say, hey, this program that's trying to sell you on this thing, we've done it before.
Proof of concept is a really important thing, and as the culture is completely adapting and kind of like shifting, it's talking about theoretical things, like for Ole Miss, it was, oh, well, if they could just upset Alabama this year, maybe they can finally get to the Cotton Bowl again, but now, no, there's proof of concept. Ole Miss just had his first 11-win season with a transfer-heavy roster, and quite frankly, if it's not transfers, who does he rely on? It's Lane. As far as rotationally, there's one high school player that sticks out, Quinshawn, but after Quinshawn, who is it? And that's okay, because, again, that's philosophical, and it's proven the right approach for Ole Miss. I'm curious, for 2023, who's your Ole Miss football person of the year? Is it Lane?
Yeah, I mean, that's the obvious choice. Walker Jones has to be up there.
I'm saying there's sneaky good candidates, though.
Yeah, if you want to talk about players, Jaxson Dart, obviously. Jaxson Dart, I think, is like, I don't know. He's like the vibesman in chief, I think, right? Like he just like he's tough. He's really good. He talks smack. Like, I don't know. I think there's value to him more than just like, hey, he's good at football. But yeah, I don't know. There's some strong candidates. I'll say Walker Jones. I will be different.
Yeah, I like that. I mean, because you could argue of all the key figures instrumental for where Ole Miss is today, Walker's right there, man. I mean, he's top 3 in whatever sport it might be. What was your greatest moment of 2023?
Oh, that's a tough one. For me, it's really, that May midweek game between Ole Miss and Jacksonville. No, I'm just kidding.
Sure. When Ole Miss is playing North Alabama in a 2-game midweek series, yeah, that's when you really go, you know what? This is what I signed up for. This is what I aspired to be. Not the head coach of the Cowboys, not the manager of the Braves. I wanted to be covering a midweek Ole Miss North Alabama baseball game. I get it. Those are the dreams.
I mean, it's got to be LSU, right? I just think because that's where this started. I mean, like the level of meltdown after the Alabama loss. And yeah, hand up by the way, because yeah. But it just felt like instantaneously it was wiped away, right? Everything that all of the aspirations, whatever, and you go out, and credit to Lane Kiffin and his Taoist parable that he stapled around the football facility, and he got the guys ready, and they had this huge moment at home in just one of the most exciting football games I've ever seen. So that's got to be my choice.
Is there an Ole Miss major figure that you think needs to have a good 2024? This is a big 2024 for them. It's pretty obvious what I'm asking you here.
Yeah, you're gonna say Mike Bianco,
Probably,
right?
but like
Yeah.
Mike's fine. He won the title. It doesn't.
Sure.
But of course, I've said this too. Give Mike. I mean, Mike is the winningest, most successful baseball coach Ole Miss has ever had. Having said that, he was gone until they made their magical run and they
Right.
get into the World Series and then they win the thing. But he did it. He did the thing.
Sure.
Quite literally, all he had to do, he could have gotten in as like a 3 seed in Coral Gables. It wouldn't have mattered. Just make the SEC tournament, But instead, 6 wins. So that's why it's like, Mike, man, like the one thing you couldn't do is completely bottom out after the title, right? But at least they've got some transfer. So I would think Mike has, he won a title. There's nothing going to happen to him or anything like that. But just like.
Mm-hmm.
Going from a title to six combined wins or whatever it was. Come on, man. In the league, like, come on, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Look, I mean, I agree with you. So, but just for the sake of the discourse, like, and I don't have your message board to sort through, Ben, but if
My
I have
institutional
run a
knowledge and
board
also
before.
crazies that I have to deal with on a daily basis. Yeah. I feel that.
Yeah, exactly. But for your sake and the sake of the other folks who have to run the message boards, like just be okay, because I just don't want to have the discussion.
Just be fine.
Yeah, like yeah, you don't have to win the SEC. Just get in.
Just get into the tournament. That's all it is. And I think this team can. So I think we're both kind of on the same page with that. I'm curious too. Jaxson Dart, he's entering his 3rd year as a starter for Ole Miss. And one thing we talk about in this culture now is how it's like it feels like all hired guns all the time. But where Ole Miss has really thrived is that it's adapted to a transfer heavy approach. However, you're seeing traditional through lines, like, for example, a 3-year starting quarterback, like old traditional things that you're used to seeing. So he'll have Jackson now the path to get there is different, but he'll have the exact same run as a quarterback as Matt Corral did. So going into his final season at Ole Miss and knowing Ole Miss is a title contender right now, where would Jaxson Dart, in your opinion, rank amongst the greatest quarterbacks in Ole Miss history? And where would he end up then? It's hard because where would he end up then? What if they make it to a national championship? What if they win the thing? Now, statistically, talent-wise, I mean, it's a much more comprehensive conversation than what I'm trying to like narrow it down to here. Because look, Eli Manning is for me the greatest ever. Archie Manning is my dad's greatest ever. You know what I mean? Like on and on and on and on and on. There's different. I've want to like I'll defend Bo Wallace till my dying breath. I mean, one of the most important players, not just quarterbacks in Ole Miss history. But it feels like Jackson is on the precipice of really stamping his place just through purely accomplishment alone. 11. He was the quarterback for the 11-win season. He was the quarterback for potentially a playoff run next year.
Right.
I think you'd have to put him easily, within the top 3 because of accomplishment on its own, potentially, if he pulls it off, I guess.
Exactly. Yeah. And look, I mean, if you talk about a guy who goes and wins a national championship in this era of college football, I mean, instantly number 1. I'm sorry, like he just is. But that is such like
everybody was arguing for Matt Corral when he won 10 games.
Yeah. So, but you start to scale that back, maybe back a little bit more toward realism. If he makes a semifinal, what is he? I think he's probably top 3. I don't know. You're more equipped to talk about this than I am.
I am. Let's see. Everyone calls me a fanboy, which is fine. I don't really give a shit. And David, you're supposed to be like my wet blanket. You know, I'm the idea man. I'm sitting there saying Jaxson Dart, if he won a title next year, top 3 hands down. But let's just say Ole Miss falls just short and they finished in the top 5 to 8. They make the playoffs. They've accomplished the first 11-win season of all time. Jackson's top 5. You know, I mean, it's going to be Eli, Archie, Chad Kelly, Matt Corral, Bo Wallace.
All right, so I'm gonna embrace my role and tell you that you have just disrespected the memory of Archie Manning, right? I know he's still alive. I didn't mean to just kill him, but you know,
How?
This is what you told me to do. You told me I'm supposed to be the wet blanket. So
you're right.
By associating Jaxson Dart with him, you've disrespected him, period.
Wow.
You know, you've disrespected Eli. Yeah.
So, anyway. Ben, you're going to have to accept your penance on your message board for daring to say Jaxson Dart will be in the company of the Mannings.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
You've tainted royalty is what you've just done.
I accept my fate. I will take my 24 lashings. Or what's the thing they used to put people in the old days, you know, with the little thing, like the horse thing with your head and your arms in there.
You're talking about being drawn and quartered? Is that what's happening?
No, here? I was thinking about like just the little, you know, with the holes, you know.
Oh, yeah.
The thing.
I don't know what that's called.
Yeah, I never want to know either. I don't really want to figure that out. All right, one of the last things, and then I'll let you go. Ole Miss basketball, they take on Tennessee, their first SEC game in Knoxville on Saturday. I just got credentialed. Are you going?
No.
I'm thinking about going.
Yeah.
I think I want to make the trip. But I'm worried that Ole Miss, as good as it's been, Tennessee's really good. It's like Tennessee's really good. Tennessee's one of the very best defensive and rebounding teams in college basketball. And as good as Ole Miss has been, and with 2 7-footers, they have still only out-rebounded their opponent 3 times this year. And that is not a recipe to go into Knoxville and knock off the Vols. But I'm not writing this team off with anything. What are your thoughts on Chris Beard and what he's been able to pull off so far, and maybe where you think they can end up? I think today Joe Lenardi had him as like an 8 seed.
Yeah. Here's where I can naturally be a little bit of a wet blanket, Ben, because I'm not sold. Like I think they are an NCAA tournament team, right? Which I think everyone would have taken. Right?
That's the accomplishment. That like anything else after that would be gravy.
Yeah, exactly. I think they can get in. I don't really think they can do anything beyond that. Like, I don't think they're going to compete to win the SEC, right? I don't think if they are a top 7 seed in Nashville, I think that's a success. Because like you, I have concerns about the rebounding, that the Chris Beard defense that I think we've all expected hasn't really shaped, at least analytically. They're still kind of waiting on that to form. So maybe there's some upside for this team to get better. But at the same time, I'm not sure that they're going to continue making 40% of their threes, because I think that's really why they're in this position right now. They're just,
and they don't turn the ball over.
That's that too.
So I agree. Like, that's what's going to keep you always competitive. You're not turning the ball over. You're shooting at an efficient clip, and they're shooting it within rhythm. I mean, it's not like they're taking contested threes and making 40% of them. They're taking them within the context of the offense and the flow of the 5 out, and they've been really good in that way. But I do like, my whole thing is this: when it comes postseason time, or when it comes to going beating Tennessee on the road, can you rebound? Can you do the toughness plays? Can you rebound and defend? And Ole Miss can defend, but I agree with you. Analytically, according to Kim Palm, it's just not showing up all that much right now. Ole Miss is like the 300s in defensive rebounding. So for the matchup coming up, I don't love it. Now, if they beat Tennessee this weekend, how would that change? Would that change? I mean, that would change things for you. It shouldn't probably, but it would.
It would, because let's just be honest, right? Tennessee has better basketball players than Ole Miss does. Like,
currently, yes.
Full stop. So
yes,
if you show me that, hey, you can go on the road, right, and your cohesion and your system and your want to and your rebounding and your defensive ability is good enough to go beat a team that is more gifted than you, that has more experience, winning at this level than you on the road, that totally changes the paradigm. But until then, I'm a little bit skeptical. Healthy skepticism.
Healthy
I
skepticism.
don't think they're bad. I'm just not sure yet.
That's fine. All right, wet blanket. I'm an idea man. So they either throw the wet blanket on there or not. I believe whether they win this weekend or not, this Ole Miss team could this year, just by being what they are, I think they could easily match the greatest accomplishment in Ole Miss history, which is just making the Sweet 16. I believe they could do that.
Maybe.
Now here it would play for matchups. Like if they get for Joe Lenardi had them as an 8 match with Dayton, and the winner plays Purdue. Purdue's a good basketball team. Purdue's a really good defensive and rebounding basketball team. Not a great matchup. Having said that, that would be fun. I could see Ole Miss going at Purdue a little bit. Maybe Matt Morrell getting hot, make it to the Sweet 16.
What you're forgetting, Ben, is that Purdue chokes historically the instant the calendar turns to March. So
there we go. That's what I'm saying.
They're winning the national championship.
What you're saying then is, Ben, just get ready. Your red hair, your hats, your bad, skin, paleness, and chalkiness is going to be showing up in Indianapolis, wherever the hell it is, to watch Ole Miss compete for a basketball title. Like, if you had told little Ben that at like 7 years old, Ben, you love Jaxson Dart and Jason Smith and, all these dudes. One day, Ole Miss basketball is going to be a national title contender. I'd have looked at you at 7 and like, yeah, you don't know shit about Ole Miss. You know what I mean? So now you're telling me we want Ole Miss to go. Like, Ole Miss is going this weekend, and when they upset Tennessee, turn around, they're going to get that 8. They're going to upset Purdue and match the Sweet 16. You just heard David Eckert say it. You just heard he said it.
Aggregate it. I want to see the headlines all over the internet. Yep. Yeah, that's exactly what
everywhere. David Eckert is picking Ole Miss basketball and Chris Beard in their debut season as a Sweet 16 team. I heard it directly into these ears. Okay, he's David Eckert. What are you working on right now, man? How can people follow your stuff, read your stuff? I know how to do it, but tell the other people if they're just learning all about you and your wet blanketness,
Exactly. Yes, if you're interested in purchasing a wet blanket, you can do so at David Eckert 98 on Twitter.
What's the 98? Is that when you were born?
It was.
Oh my God, I'm so old.
Painful? Yeah. So
I was born in 86.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Wow. You don't look it though. You look young, Ben.
Oh my God, thank you. I don't act like it. That's more of an indictment to me. He's David Eckert. Check him out on Twitter. He writes for the Jackson Clarion Ledger, covers Ole Miss, does a hell of a job doing it. You're the man. Thank you for doing this. Let's do it again.
Appreciate you, Ben. Anytime.